Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Monday weather update, recorded on the 9th of June. Thunderstorms, low pressure, and some colder weather in the south, basically building the picture for the forecast this week. Here is the new low that is spiralling off the coast of the border of Victoria and New South Wales, and that is gradually moving towards New Zealand as we go into the weekend. So it is out in the Tasman Sea all week. At the same time, a lot of high pressure to the south of New Zealand. It's colder in the lower half of New Zealand for pretty much the whole week ahead. And you can see these thunderstorms coming through this morning, most of them coming through the Auckland area, so that's why you're seeing it in all the news stories today, and some of those heavy downpours as well. And you can see more out at sea, tracking along in that westerly flow ahead of the low pressure zone. Here is the thunderstorm risk. We've got a couple of maps here. Basically, across the coming week, there are a number of hours, I should say, in each day that have the chance of thunderstorms coming off the Tasman Sea, but they're likely to be isolated. But here are the sort of bigger chances of them as we come through to midnight Tuesday, tomorrow night. You can see here an area showing from possible thunderstorms up to possibly severe thunderstorms. Now, the exact areas with these red dots will move around in the days ahead, but generally speaking, the top half of the North Island and the western side of the North Island is most exposed. There may also be some coming into the western and northwestern and northern parts of the South Island. West Coast, Nelson, Marlborough might brush through there. Here is 6 p.m. Wednesday, going through to the middle of the week. So that is that burst of thunderstorms we just showed you, moving away. And here is the next lot coming through. Remember, the low is still out there. So what you see in the yellow and the orange is sort of the chance of a thunderstorm or chance of heavy downpours. You might not get thunder and lightning, but you get the general idea. It is unstable weather this week coming off the west coast. Here's the situation this evening. So a lot of high pressure is actually around the country at the moment. You wouldn't necessarily believe it in some areas, but high pressure goes from north of New Zealand, around the side of New Zealand, and then out to the west. Now, the H here isn't actually the center of a high, but it just sort of marks the boundary of the high pressure going up. Just really wanted to highlight that really much of the country is in high pressure. But there's a little bit of lower pressure around Waikato and Auckland and Northland, and that's helping to feed some of those westerlies and those heavy showers that we're getting off the Tasman Sea. So we've still got a frost risk at the moment. The top end of the country, no risk of frost with the cloud and the showers around, but we are still seeing tonight and going into tomorrow morning a chance of some frost at higher elevation, mostly through Central Plateau and out towards the eastern ranges. The South Island has the much higher chance of frosts once again, although coastal areas to the east and the west not looking as frosty. And notice what happens on Wednesday, shrink. That's because we're seeing those northerly winds coming down as the high pressure departs and that new low starts to move on in. So here is lunchtime Tuesday, the warmer airflow coming down for the north. Now, warmer doesn't necessarily mean it is warm, but it's warmer than it's been. High pressure still ballooning out to the east here. There is a centre off the eastern side of the South Island, and those northerly winds will start to pick up in the South Island. So while there is the chance of a frost, the frosts don't look as heavy as we go through into Tuesday. Most places are dry, but there's a little bit of wet weather at the top of New Zealand. By Wednesday, there is that area of showers, that same one that we just showed you at the top of New Zealand, might have some thunderstorms. This is the line here of possible thunderstorms, heavy showers as it moves on through. And then as we go into Wednesday afternoon and evening, there'll be another burst of showers, which might also contain hail and thunder. Elsewhere, eastern areas look the driest, except for once you get down to around Otago, the next big high, that's out around Tasmania, dredging up a southerly there. So it's still cold, but not maybe as cold as it's been. The overnight temperatures should start to go up just a little bit. Thursday, and remember we've got the field days on at Mystery Creek this week. Showers are in the forecast. It's not as wet actually as it was looking last week, so there is some good news. But there could be some thunderstorms or at least just some heavy downpours around the Hamilton area and Mystery Creek area. Possibly hear some thunderstorms or downpours on Thursday morning. West to northwest winds for the North Island. Most of the wet weather coming in off the Tasman Sea, and eastern areas, while there is a little bit of wet weather, eastern areas aren't as wet, but there is a slight southeasterly here around Wairarapa, Wellington, and that will drop your temperatures. Temperatures also down around the eastern side and southern parts of the South Island. Cold weather actually really does linger this week in Southland in particular. Very low temperatures for the whole week coming through. So by Friday, Still cold in the south and still mostly dry. All that high pressure is keeping conditions fairly dry. Southland, central Otago, and over on the west coast, although with the low nearby, a little bit borderline in some spots. Showers carry on the western side, so off the Tasman Sea. Again, they might be a little bit heavy, but it is interesting with the low moving in. You've got westerlies at the top of New Zealand, or at least at the top of the North Island, and easterlies blowing through at the bottom part of the North Island, all going around the low pressure zone. So what does the weekend look like? Well, there is a bit of a southerly coming through. Temperatures will be down in Christchurch up to Wellington, and maybe even a little bit of Widered Upper going into Hawke's Bay. South to southeasterlies, showers, not usually the driest or the warmest when it's that kind of setup. Dry on the west coast, dry in Fiordland, our rainforest, and low pressure weakening, although it is a large area of low pressure. That means it can change shape when it's like that. It can move and morph, and that can shift the showers around as we go through into the weekend. So it's possible that we might see some heavier showers around on Saturday because of the instability caused by that low pressure zone. And we get to Sunday, and you can see here a series of lows going all the way from the tropics all the way down to west of about Taranaki Nelson area. That means there's still instability at the top of the North Island. That could produce more thunderstorms or just some downpours as we go through into the Sunday period. Cooler winds coming in around the Chatham Islands feeds in as an east to northeasterly for the North Island, lighter winds for the South Island, but that northeast flow may still be felt by some of you. And look at that, still cold and dry for most of you in the lower part of the South Island. Here is the next 7 days rainfall on this map, slightly different colours to the ones we've just showed you. Heaviest rain is in the yellow areas here. So you are seeing Taranaki, parts of the west coast, and the lower sort of North Island, around Horowhenua and going in towards Manawatu, could be seeing some heavier falls. But remember, those isolated thunderstorms, or if you don't get a thunderstorm, just the cloud buildup with the downpour, they could break the forecast here in some locations. You may see higher rainfall. Driest areas from about Gisborne down to Napier and Hastings, also down around Southland up to about Queenstown going into Otago. And it's fairly dry in the northeastern corner, but you could get some of those heavier downpours moving through some parts of Canterbury, Nelson and Marlborough. So there we go, bit of a messy week coming up this week. If you're going to field days, don't forget, we've got in our free Weather Watch app, and also at ruralweather.co.nz, we've got the fog forecaster. So if you're flying into flying into Hamilton Airport, just keep an eye on that fog forecaster so that you can sort of make sure that your flights are going to be likely to be going ahead, or if not, you know that there is that chance there might be some delays. That is all from me. See you again tomorrow, Tuesday, with our next update.